Welcome to Northside Pirate Podcast. We're from Small Green Shoots, a youth-led charity which helps guide young people that are looking to get into the music industry.
We're here on behalf of the National Heritage Fund, producing a podcast celebrating the history and future of pirate radio.
Pirate radio stations on council estates on the Hackney and Islington borders were the pulse of London's music culture airwaves for over 2 decades.
They provide a voice for underground and black music subcultures that was missing from commercial radio playlists influenced by major record label pluggers, homogenizing mainstream tastes.
As the new millennium and multiple satellite TV dawned, community and DAB radio took hold. The death knell of the pirate radio stations told, and slowly their local subcultures diminished with them, their sources being forgotten.
Some of the most popular pirate radio stations were Kiss FM and Radio Jackie, which are now both licensed and legalized. On the last episode, we touched base with Chris Mitchell, who joined us to talk about his experience in pirate radio and how it helped him to find his voice.
This episode, we are joined by the legendary DJ Elaine, who was involved with London Wide Radio, also known as LWR, a very popular pirate radio station active in London in the 1980s.
She's going to be joining us to talk about her memories and successes and how she felt once pirate radio started progressing to mainstream.
All right, Elaine. So can I ask you how you started out with pirate radio? Like, what was the beginning for you?
Well, the actual beginning for me was Daddy Ernie, who spotted me at an all-dayer, Town and Country. I say Town and Country. He says Hammersmith Palais. But either way, it was a big stage. And back then, I used to select my own music, use the mic, you know, to vibe up the crowd.
Yeah.
And put my music on, which was quite rare for any DJ, really. They'd, you know, you'd find that DJs would have a selector, and then you'd have a mics man, and then somebody who actually puts the record on. Well, I did all. You know what they say about females multitasking.
Yeah,
well, I did it all,
exactly.
and he was impressed with that because I got the crowd up there and that, and asked if I'd like to do some radio.
Wow.
He said if I would, then I'd do a demo tape. That was the Friday. He said to bring it down to Hawkeye Records, which was in Harlesden. So I got home. I don't even think I slept that night. I just did the demo tape, got it up to him by the Saturday. By the Sunday, I was being invited to Bentley's where Zach was, who owned LWR.
Yeah.
So I delivered, Daddy Ernie had delivered the tape to him. And as a result, Zach had invited me up to Bentley's on the Sunday and offered me the breakfast show on LWR for the very next day.
Perfect.
So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
You got scouted. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Yeah, literally.
That's perfect. Very efficient. So when you started out with pirate radio and you started your sets, who were you most influenced by? If you had any influences at all, did you just kind of go in it and think, you know, I'm going to freestyle this?
Well, I'd already been playing music and my mother, if I talk about musical influences, that would be my mum really, because she was always buying music ever since I can remember. So music has always been a big thing for me, and parties, I was always climbing through windows to escape sending invitations to myself to get out. No. And but what I did know, by the time I got to radio, I'd listened to so much radio, from your Capital Radio to your BBC to your Luxembourg, you know, all of those radios. So I knew how I wanted my show to sound.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So all I did was to collect the music I liked. I was playing Monday through till Friday. And I knew that I'd want to put certain, what would you call it? Oh God, what's the word called now? It's escaped me. Features. So I did like 3 in a row, which I called 3 from 1. So I would choose one artist and select 3 tunes from them. Then it would be new artists. Then there'd be something from, you know, requests and dedications.
Wow.
So it was like a breakfast show. So I treated it like a breakfast show. You know, so it all formulated in my head. And to my surprise, the audience liked it. Wow. So I guess I modelled myself from the mainstream but playing our music.
Yeah.
You had like a USP, like a unique selling
And when you
point.
are like a pioneer, it's almost like you can make the own rules. You're in charge of yourself.
Exactly that, you know. And
Wow.
back then we used to get letters. People used to send letters to us, you know. And I even had a couple of guys send me postal orders to buy flowers and chocolate for myself.
You're a
That's so
catcher.
sweet. I love that. I love that.
And people would come out to see you in person, to listen to you play and to see you and stuff. So it was.
You was a celebrity in your own
Yeah.
right from something doing something you love.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
didn't
made
even
it
know
yourself.
it really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, didn't even know it.
Wow.
That's
You should be really
impressive.
proud of
Yeah,
yourself. That's
you really
amazing.
should.
So during that sort of beginnings of the pirate radio and stuff like that, do you remember any specific artists, DJs, and groups that sort of blew up in the time?
Yes, we championed a lot of British artists like Loose Ends, Soul to Soul,
Oh my goodness.
Your Central, exactly. Oh,
Good
you know,
song.
I didn't
I love
think
that song.
And artists from abroad like your Joes and your Luther Vandross and that, because all of these music weren't being played on mainstream
Yeah,
radio.
yeah.
If they played any black music at all, it would be from Motown.
Yeah.
So R&B was an unknown quantity to the mainstream. So when we started picking up R&B,
Yeah.
you know, your Jeff Reds, you know, you name it, all of the ones that you like, all the hip hop and rap, and of course music from Jamaica, you know, reggae and everything British. We absorbed it, we picked it up, and they became our family. And
That's so sick.
when we, you know, so we were the station to listen to, and at one point we commanded over 2 million listeners,
Wow.
which really
Wow.
competed
That's
with the
crazy.
The
mainstream.
license things, and you guys weren't even. That is amazing.
You put them on the map. Like, you
Yeah.
put that music on the map. That's
Absolutely,
amazing.
absolutely.
Wow.
And sorry, whilst you was there, were there ever moments when you felt like that sort of system or the licensed people were kind of working against the growth of pirate radio station, both as like it being run by black people and also the fact that you was a female as well?
Well, the female side of it, I didn't really feel any kind of come off.
That's
I'm
good.
too
Yeah.
feisty.
Yeah.
No, well, I'm
At
feisty.
that time,
So people know not to play with you.
Well, absolutely, I'm
Oh,
feisty.
perfect.
But in terms of us as a group, we didn't call ourselves pirate. We called ourselves alternative radio.
I like that.
Because as far as we're concerned, we're not stealing anything.
Yeah.
They may
You're not-
say,
yeah.
well, you're broadcasting without a
Illegally.
license. But, you know, the way I see it as well, the land belongs to us, but
It
yet we're
does.
having to pay
Exactly.
road tax and all these kind of
the
things.
air belongs to us, so I'm going to stream on it.
Right. So we were giving something to the community. We weren't being paid unless, you know, an organizer would book us and
Yeah.
then they'd book us for, you know, for our services and that. But we paid for our records, and imports were not cheap. You could go into the record shop and within an hour you've spent £200, and that's back then. And you'd buy the album, and you'd still buy the release, and you'd still buy the remix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was a passion for us, and we were sharing all of that with our audience. We
Yeah.
were community service.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the
Voice to the people.
literally
Yeah.
Literally.
That's amazing.
point blank period.
I just think it's so mad that like back in the day you were doing all of that, because now it's a lot more easier to do stuff like that. But it's like you were doing it when it just wasn't a thing, which is crazy. So like you really put it on the map.
Well, people were going to jail for it.
Yeah.
If the DTI came in and caught you, they'd confiscate all of the equipment, all of your records, and they'd throw you in jail.
Wow.
and that's ridiculous because it's like, on what grounds?
Yeah.
On what grounds is it that you're arresting me for?
A lot of the time, like legislation and rules are sort of put in place to stop
Yeah.
people from growing,
They're
to stop people from.
so blurred.
It's
It's
crazy.
sad.
Well, I mean, when I did my first show, when I was initiated, they were like, right. It was actually in a type-in pool area. And I was told that if the DTI came through the door, just say that I was doing a demo and I didn't know.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm one of the typists.
Little white lie.
Kind of reminds me of like Prohibition and Speakeasies, that kind of vibe where like you got to do it in private. You got to look out, the police come and go.
It's crazy.
It adds something to it, makes it more authentic.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really did, because we kept moving the studio around, and 1 minute we'd be in someone's plush apartment, the next minute we'd be in the corner of someone's kitchen or some broken house or something like that. But it was all part of it.
I was just about to say, I'm sure that must be a really fun memory, like the not excitement, because I'm sure it was kind of nerve-wracking trying to figure out what was going to happen, but the excitement of thinking, you know, that we're being supported so much from people that we need to find a new space to keep broadcasting from, because
and the fact that it's not really supposed to be allowed, it's like got that sneaky element to it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, sometimes we used to get tipped off.
Oh no!
Right,
really?
that the DTI is onto us, or found our location or found our mask or aerial, and they would we would move,
leg it,
and then we'd put a sign up on the on the wall saying "Too late, gone."
I love that. I love that so much.
That's literally the stuff that you see in the movies as well.
Taking the mick, like you hacked something and you just, I love that. I love
Cat
that
and mouse. But there was a guy called Gotts. He was part of the DTI and he really loved us. But he was just doing his job.
Yeah.
Apparently, allegedly, Capital Radio and the likes of used to pay them to come and take us off.
Oh my God, what haters? What the hell?
What bad mind is that?
That's how they know that you lot was popping. The fact that they have to pay to try and get
rid of that competition, isn't
That's
it?
some high school stuff, like tripping in front of the corridor.
Well, the thing is that they would leave us on long enough to hear what we're playing, and then when they took us off, they'd be playing what we're playing.
See, that's what Chris was saying in our last episode as well. The fact that people will literally
Just
steal
bite your stuff.
but it's kind of like a form of like, you know, okay, you think we're great, so you're gonna take from us, but also give us the props, let us thrive. Don't
you know when you're younger and then like you tell your mum, oh, she's copying you, and she's like, nah, take it as a compliment.
But like, I'm not complimenting mum.
As a compliment, like, no, thank you. You're stealing my ideas.
Literally, like put that apple down, Eve.
Going off of that, I just want to ask you, like, what was one of your best memories working in Pirate Radio?
Wow, best memories.
Going down memory lane.
Memory lane with Elaine.
It was just every single day was awesome. To be honest with you, what it is to be looking at you girls looking so young. Because I'm 60 now.
Oh, you don't look a day over 20.
Day over 45.
Thank you.
Oh,
I'm 60 now,
gorgeous.
and my son was 2 at the time. So do the math. But you have the energy, don't you? So to think that I was doing Monday to Friday, 7 till 10, every single day. And I used to go up to Cavendish Street to pick up the mail every other day.
Wow.
And I was still being booked at least 3 to 4 times a week to play out. How did I manage to do that?
Passion drives you with like so much, because the love that you have for music will take over the 11-hour shift that you're doing, because it just feels powerful from start to finish.
It's something that you want to do, isn't it? It's just, it makes such a big difference, like if you actually want to do something, because it doesn't matter, like your focus is on it, and before you know it, time's flown.
Literally, before you know it, you're closing off the radio show, but you just started.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what advice would you give to young people trying to get into radio, trying to do what you did, basically?
Doing exactly what you're doing right now. You know, this is very plush, lovely studio and that. You know,
Thank you.
Courtesy of Nats.
I would say I'd offer you the same advice that I gave myself, which is, how do you want to sound on radio? What is your unique selling point? What are you know, what's your speciality? For me, I couldn't consider myself as an entertainer, which means I play music right across the board. So it doesn't really matter where you put me. So long as you kind of give me the heads up and say, well, you know, this crowd is predominantly reggae, then I'll be predominantly reggae. But I'm an entertainer, so it means that I use the mic, I select the music, and my thing is to get people singing. If I have a session and people are not singing in that session, they may be done. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. It's like, imagine being an artist going to perform in an audience and they're not singing along. It's just weird.
I've seen that. It's not, I'm assuming it's not nice for the artist. So,
But, you know, the norm is that, you know, for me, I just want to go, I've got to see the crowd on the ceiling, screaming, losing their minds, you know, and yeah. So I think the idea or the advice, it would be just find out what really floats your boat. Don't try and copy anybody. Of course, you can be influenced, but find do you.
100%.
Because whatever you're interested in, you'll always find people who are also interested in that.
Exactly.
And with this sort of technology as well. So wait, I'm giving the advice.
no, but it's true.
But with this technology, you can reach so much more people, and there's people for every single person.
100%.
And I also feel like with DJing or radio and stuff like that, it's almost like a conversation with the audience. You're there to listen to them as much as they are there to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like a back and forth.
It's like it's a symbiotic relationship. You can't, you know, the audience want to hear said tunes, but the DJ will mix it in a particular way that
appeals to them. And I mean, the other thing as well that I learned quite soon is that radio is theatre of the mind, right? So you've got to be, in fact, I prefer radio to television because you have to use your words in radio. Yeah. You have to paint that picture.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, you have to make the listener feel as though actually they're the only ones you're speaking to them. It's a one-to-one relationship.
It's a lot more like intimate in a way.
It's really intimate. So sometimes in the morning I would like freak people out and I'd say, right now, put the coffee down. Put that cup of coffee down.
Breaking the
call to listen to this. And the amount of times you'd be somewhere and they'd say, you know, when you said put the coffee down, I literally had the cup of coffee in my hand. You know, so it's just putting yourself where they are, you know, maybe your mum doing a school run. Think about where you are that time of the day.
Like make it like really personable, like almost like building a relationship, but through talking and like it's even the fact that they can't see you.
That's right.
Like you have to like be able to, like portray your voice and stuff in a way that like you can portray emotions.
It's theatre of the mind. And the other things, one of my pet hate is when you hear somebody that speaks lovely, just normally, and the minute they get on the mic, they're like, and their voice changes and it just changes. Why does it change? Just speak.
100%.
Just speak.
So I think it just comes naturally for some people, and for some people it kind of is a learning process, but it makes absolute sense. Well,
I guess as long as you're yourself, then
then nothing to worry about.
That's right. And like, you know, when you mic check as well, you know, for me, when I mic check, it's like, because what I can hear at the moment is cutting out in my headphones. So I'm where my voice elevates. So when I mic check, I'm famous for going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And you just count, but the inflection of your voice is how you would normally speak.
100%.
Does it make sense?
Yeah. That's...
Wow.
Gosh, thank you so much, Elaine.
You're welcome.
In the short span that, you know, you've been with us, you kind of just elevated us.
Very, very informative.
Thank you very much. We
You're
can
welcome.
only thank you for the work that you've done, you know, for radio, and the way you've influenced people passively or impassively. Like, you've done your job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Still so much to do.
Exactly. You still have, I'm sure you still have a lot to do.
Our thanks go out to the guests for educating us on pirate radio and emphasising the importance of preserving its legacy.
In addition, we wish to thank Chris for his assistance behind the scenes and for allowing us to be able to do this podcast for the National Heritage Fund charity.
Our goal with this podcast was to be useful and informative for all you listeners. We hope you enjoyed it as well.